Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Sally Nugent and Dan Walker.
Our headlines today. Exactly 1 year on from the first coronavirus lockdown, Prince Charles asks the nation to come together in a day of reflection.
Let us take a moment together to remember those who have been lost, to give thanks for their lives.
£5,000 fines could be issued to anyone heading abroad on holiday under new coronavirus laws due to come into force in England next week.
Another test for Nicola Sturgeon. A report by MSPs will accuse the First Minister of misleading their investigation when it's published in the next few hours.
A police officer is among 10 people killed in a mass shooting at a grocery store in the US state of Colorado.
Good morning. What has a year of lockdown done to jobs? Numbers in the next hour will tell us how restrictions over the bleak midwinter affected employment. But the furlough scheme is still masking what's next.
Good morning in sport. After losing the Test and T20 series, can Owen Morgan's side produce a winning finish in India? England's first one-day international gets underway in a couple of hours.
The BBC journalist Clive Myrie takes over from John Humphreys as the new host of Mastermind. We will put him through his paces just before 9 o'clock this morning.
Good morning. It's a cloudier, breezier day ahead today with a little bit of rain in the north and the west. I'll be here with all your weather details throughout the morning.
Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of March. Our top story. The Prince of Wales has called for the UK to take a moment today to remember those we have lost to COVID on what is being called a National Day of Reflection.
It comes exactly a year to the day since the first lockdown began, marking the start of the biggest and longest national crisis since the Second World War. Our political correspondent Chris Mason has been looking back.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. At present, there are just no easy options. The way ahead is hard, and it is still true that many lives will sadly be lost.
A year ago today, fewer than 1,000 people in the UK had died with coronavirus. The figure now stands at more than 126,000. Few would have imagined the scale of the loss of lives and liberties, the restrictions we'd still be facing 12 months on. This morning, on what's being called a National Day of Reflection, the Prime Minister says, "The last 12 months have taken a huge toll on us all, and I offer my sincere condolences to those who have lost loved ones. Today, the anniversary of the first lockdown, is an opportunity to reflect on the past year, one of the most difficult in our country's history." He's not the only one who's thinking back over the year just gone.
Over the past year, our country has been through a trial which has tested our resolve and our resilience in countless ways. We've all been inspired by the resourcefulness we have witnessed, humbled by the dedication shown by so many, and moved beyond words by the sacrifices we have seen.
The challenge, of course, is far from over. The scramble for vaccines, the colossal economic damage done, the new wave of cases confronting many of our nearest neighbours, the impact of which will wash upon our shores, as the Prime Minister put it. This morning, more than 50 MPs and peers, along with the health unions, the British Medical Association and the Royal College of Nursing, are suggesting that this day every year should be known as COVID Memorial Day, and a monument should be put up here on Whitehall. Chris Mason, BBC News at Westminster.
We'll be reflecting on that throughout the morning for you. Now, anyone caught leaving the UK from England without a reasonable excuse could be fined £5,000 from next week. This is part of a new COVID law which comes into force from Monday the 29th of March. Let's speak to Keith Doyle, who joins us this morning from Heathrow. Keith, good morning to you. So what do we know exactly about this legislation so far?
Yeah, good morning from Heathrow. There's relatively few flights leaving here this morning, but shortly there will be ones leaving for Paris, Amsterdam, New York and Chicago. But as you say, from March the 29th, next Monday, it will be illegal under English law to leave the UK without a valid reason. To do that, you could get a fine of £5,000. There'll also be a £200 fine for people who don't fill out those passenger declaration forms. Now, it's already illegal to go on holiday. What this is doing is making it an explicit offence to leave the UK without a valid reason, so tightening the laws before what would normally be the busy holiday season. Now, this only applies, this doesn't apply to the common travel area, so that's the Isle of Man, Channel Islands and the Republic of Ireland. What that will do, though, is close that loophole with people using Dublin to travel further, so you can't use them as a stepping stone to go further. There are exemptions, so you can travel for work, for study, to move house, for various health, family and safety reasons. Now, the newspapers this morning are screaming headlines saying that there's no summer holidays until the end of June. Well, that's technically right. This law is in place till the 30th of June, but it will be reviewed on the 12th of April and every 35 days after that. So that's in line with the government's roadmap out of COVID restrictions. So it could be lifted earlier, but what this is doing is the government is getting everything in place so it can slam the brakes on any possible early summer getaway if it feels it's necessary.
OK, Keith, thank you very much. And we'll be speaking to the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, about that and a number of other things at 7:30 this morning.
Now, a gunman has killed 10 people in a supermarket in the US state of Colorado.
The victims include a police officer who attended the shooting in the city of Boulder. David Willis has more.
Early afternoon in a residential area of Boulder, Colorado, police are called to a local grocery store where a man with a rifle had opened fire. As people were led to safety, chilling video emerged of victims lying wounded both inside and outside the store. Among the dead was local police officer Eric Talley, an 11-year veteran of the Boulder Police Force.
Officer Talley responded to the scene, was the first on the scene, and he was fatally shot. I also want to commend the heroic actions of the officers responding not only from Boulder PD, but from across the county and other parts of this region. Police officers' actions fell nothing short of being heroic.
Pictures from the scene showed a middle-aged man, shirtless and dressed in shorts, being led away from the grocery store in handcuffs. Officials won't confirm he was the gunman, nor will they comment on a possible motive.
So they're pulling onto Broadway here.
As SWAT team officers converged on the scene, the White House said President Biden had been briefed on the incident. Last month, on the 3rd anniversary of a mass shooting in Florida in which 17 people died, he called for background checks on anyone seeking to buy a gun and a ban on assault weapons. But this is the second mass shooting in this country in the space of a week, and it has already prompted calls for a new national conversation about gun violence. But the right to own a gun is enshrined in the Constitution here, and those seeking a change in the law have had their attempts thwarted many times before. David Willis, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is facing further pressure about her handling of harassment allegations against her predecessor, Alex Salmond.
Yesterday, an independent inquiry cleared her of breaching ministerial code. A separate report by a cross-party committee of MSPs, which is published this morning, will accuse Ms Sturgeon of misleading its investigation. Nick Early reports.
I solemnly, sincerely and truly declare...
For some time, Nicola Sturgeon had faced claims she hadn't been completely honest. Her critics, including her former mentor, Alex Salmond, claim she hadn't followed the rules ministers have to follow, the ministerial code. But last night, the man tasked with investigating that, the independent advisor on the code, concluded she hadn't broken the rules in 4 key areas.
I have been very clear in my own mind that I acted appropriately and did not breach the ministerial code, but that, while that might be necessary, is not sufficient. It's important to the Scottish people that they have independent verification and adjudication of that, and that, of course, is what they now have.
First Minister.
I have no difficulty...
The ruling is a big boost for Nicola Sturgeon, just before the Scottish election campaign gets underway. But she'll face some criticism in a report to be published this morning from a committee of MSPs. They say she misled them in her evidence and have questioned parts of her account.
The Hamilton inquiry hasn't looked at a number of key areas, further potential breaches of the Ministerial Code. Scottish Conservatives believe Nicola Sturgeon has breached the Ministerial Code. She has not been truthful with Parliament or the people of Scotland, and she cannot continue as First Minister.
Nicola Sturgeon will stay in her job for now. The next big decision will be for voters in Scotland who go to the polls in 6 weeks' time. Nick Eardley, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.